you so much for making the time to be part of this all-important meeting of great minds, I believe. And I hope that by the time we are done, we will pick a thing or two out of our gathering here. Now, let me just quickly say that I'm really flattered by the positive things or the kindness of the words used by my senior, Ken, who is a respected personality in our country and who's done quite a lot in terms of policing the labor laws and rights of the people of Ghana. Now, I must say quickly that many of you would know me as Richard Sky on 97.3 City FM and City Television for that matter, host on the program. I have not left the station. I'm still with the station, but I have been on a steady leave over the past 3 months, so studying in the UK. So I left in the January of 2018 to pursue an LLB at the University of Buckingham. I graduated with a first-class degree in law. I finished and was given a scholarship by the school to pursue a course that would lead to an LLM. So when I finished, I got an LLM in international trade and maritime law. That finished, and then I had to get working again towards another scholarship. So I applied for the Chevening scholarship, and I got it. And I got it to pursue a program in law. In other words, I wanted to get called to the English bar. But on top of that, I needed to make sure that the program that I wanted to study satisfies the requirements that Chevening always looked out for. And you would note, and I'll come to those details in a jiffy, that Chevening would want you to make sure that the postgraduate course you're pursuing is in character, a master's level program. So ordinarily, Chevening would not have sponsored a program that would lead me to getting called to the English bar, because strictly it is not a program that is master's in character. Because I was able to fuse the program together with what do you call it, an LLM, which is going to be, handed to me sometime in 2 months from now, so that I'm specializing in corporate law, insolvency, fraud, and economic crime. That will be the LLM headline. So that is about me. I am from the Volta region of Ghana, a proud citizen of the Republic of Ghana in Africa for that matter. And I hope that we'll have a very conversation going forward. Before I proceed to basically detail exactly how we intend to proceed, let me say quickly that some of us have our microphones on. I plead with all of us to turn off our microphones so that we do not disrupt the conversation. And let's say later, I'll be inviting questions from any one of you who is interested in knowing something that you are still not very clear about. So the presentation this morning, I decided not to do a slide for the purposes of this presentation, because normally when you get too much involved in slides, you create problems for everybody. People have so many things on their minds. So I am just going to do it as informally as I can, so that I'll finish quickly and then you can ask me your questions. So I've been asked this morning to talk about the application process. In other words, how do you apply and how do you get to make the fine team of Ghanaians who will be selected to go and join your colleagues in the UK to study in the year 2022 to 2023. Now, the Chevening Scholarship Program really is a prestigious scholarship scheme that is supported by the government of Her Excellency, the Queen of England. So her administration basically supports this particular program. What it does is to pool resources from all kinds of sources, essentially private sources, to push an agenda that looks at creating the next leaders of our world. In other words, they are looking out for people who can impact, society positively. So if you are that person who is passionate about how to fix the problems of this world, how to affect the lives of people around you positively, I will seriously encourage you to apply. Now, this particular scholarship, I believe it's the most prestigious in the world. And it is not a question of who you know, it's a question of what you are made of and whether you have the capacity as a human being to apply with persuasive arguments, persuade whoever is making the decision on your application, to take your application and say that this person has what it takes to be a Chevening scholar, and this person has what it takes to impact society positively. So let's take him and make sure that he goes out there to study. Now, the question is, what should be the first set of things that you should do before getting involved in this whole application process? Now, mind you, the application for next year has actually started on the 3rd of August, if my memory serves me correctly. It opened at midday British time. Now, people have already begun the process, but go back and ask yourself, what exactly are the folks who are running the scheme looking out for? As I said already, you need to be somebody who is in a position to influence society. Now, how do you demonstrate that? I'll be coming to that. First of all, you need at the barest minimum to have a 2-1 degree, in other words, second class upper from a recognized university within the country or outside. It doesn't matter if you do the degree in Togo or in Benin, whatever. You must have a first class degree or a 2-1 degree. And 2-1 basically is second class upper. Now, having finished with your degree, the requirement is that you should have finished the degree at least 2 years to the time or by the time you are making the application. In other words, if you finished your degree in 2019 and this year is 2021, what it means is technically you would have qualified to apply for the Chevening scholarship. But that is not all. In making the application, you have to be sure that you have gained enough working experience as to allow you to make it into the team that will be ultimately selected for the program. Now, what it means is that they are looking for people with some experience, some demonstrable capacity to work in a working environment. So, and then again, they require that at least you would have done that for at least 2 years. So that does not automatically mean that if you have not done, so let me explain it this way. It doesn't mean that necessarily you would have finished your degree 2 years ago. What it also means is that it is possible to have finished your degree last year or this year, but you would have worked over the years as to give you enough experience to make it into the team that will be selected for the program. Often we don't take internship seriously. We don't take summer vacation seriously so that we engage in some working here and there to mobilize ourselves into a fine, white collar worker. We don't do that often in this country. If you travel out of this country, you see people who leave university for vacation, go into restaurants, they go into the offices, they go into the market squares, they go into the supermarkets just to work in order to get experience. Many of us don't do that. When school is on vacation, we are either somewhere watching a movie or doing something that does not necessarily add value to us. I'm saying that if you look at the requirements of the Chevening scholarship, it is important, if you have not started doing that already, you make the effort to set aside some time during vacation to work. All of that put together would work towards improving your chances of getting the application. So you must have at least 2 years of working experience post-degree, or before the end of your program, you would have accumulated enough time in the work environment to be able to apply. Now, there is also a question of what should be the supporting documents that you should use for purposes of the application. By now, you should have put together your certificates and the transcripts, if any. In other words, you have to get in touch with your school and tell them that they should give you certified copies of your transcript during your time at whatever university you attended. And then also, you should make sure that the transcripts are properly signed. In other words, they should be signed with a seal of the school on it. Similarly, you need to take up the trouble to get the certificate certifying that you have indeed completed a program at a particular university, and your degree classification should not be less than 2.1 upper, as I mentioned earlier. Now, added to that, you would need 2 referees at least. When I was applying, that was the requirement. And I believe that nothing has thus far happened as to change that requirement, looking at the requirement for this particular year and the next. Many people make mistakes in terms of selecting referees. So I had supported in the past people who wanted to apply for the scheme and found that they went in for referees who either were not interested in their professional and academic development. I mean, I am an applicant, I am applying for a Chevening scholarship. I know that there is a boss of mine who is not interested in me growing academically. Yet for some reason, I exercised the misjudgment, and I'm using that word advisedly, of choosing him as the referee. Now, what it means is that that person can undermine your application by reason of what he writes about you as a person. So all I'm saying is that it is okay if you are taking a particular lecturer of yours who will be supporting you from the academic side, and then an employer of yours who will be supporting you from the work environment. But at all material times, be sure that the person you're choosing has the capacity to speak in positive terms about you. Now, if that person undermines your application, whoever is shortlisting, reading a reference that does not send the right message, clearly will say that this guy, although he may be qualified in other areas, is not the kind of person we should be putting out there to go and study in the UK, because his own boss or her own, lecturer is saying that this and that and that and that is not good about him or her. So that is about the referees. You need at least 2 of them, one from your work and the other from your former university or universities. Now, there's another requirement that deals with the schools that you really want to pursue, the course you want to go and study at. So there are 2 ways of understanding that requirement. The first one is that you either take a school that can admit you to 3 different courses at the same school, or secondly, you take 3 different schools that have the same set of courses, but which are somewhat different but close in character and nature. What do I mean by that? So let's say, for instance, you are interested in applying for a course at the London School of Economics, and perhaps you want to go and pursue development economics. But you don't want to apply to other schools. You want to get into London School of Economics at all costs. Now, and you have the grades to back it, and you have the reference to back it, and you have the setting.
I think Richard is muted, please.
Sorry, did you lose me at some point? Hello?
Yes, you were muted at some point.
Oh, for how long was I muted?
I think about 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. That must have been some technical problem here and there. Forgive me for that. So let me get back to what I was talking about. And thank you so much for the heads up. I was saying that in terms of choosing the schools you need to apply for, the rule says that you need at least 3 different, schools admitting you and confirming that the admission is unconditional. But what that also means is that you can take just one school, apply for 3 different courses in that school, but which are sufficiently close in character and identity. And then when you get admission to at least all those 3 programs, you satisfy the requirement of Chevening in order to be considered for scholarship. And I was saying that, let's take, for instance, you want to go into the London School of Economics, a respected institution in the United Kingdom, in the heart of London. And you want to do, development economics. Now, development economics is one course. The requirement is that you need at least 3 different courses. So development economics, yes, you take one. And then maybe there's another course known as development economics and communications. And then there's another course known as development economics and international relations. These are 3 different courses, but if you look at the profile of these programs, nothing would persuade you as to think that, oh, these are not different courses. You will see them as the same set of courses, but with a certain bias that, oh, this one has a tweak of international relations about it. Oh, this one has a tweak of communications about it. But I want to do development economics. For the purposes of satisfying the Chevening scholarship, you can put these courses in your application and explain the basis or the reasons why you are choosing them. And I'm very sure that depending on how persuasive you are about your essays and all of that, you should be able to persuade a person who is making a decision on the application to be able to say that I'm choosing you for this particular program. And then the other way of looking at it is taking 3 different schools. But in this case, you must make sure that the identity of the field you are going for is particularly defined. In other words, you choose London School of Economics, maybe as your first choice. You choose City University London as your second choice. And maybe you choose the University of Oxford at the same time as your third choice. Now, what that means is that the first choice, maybe you want to stay with the field of economics. Maybe the first one, you want to go and study taxation and economic policy at London School of Economics. Then at City University London, you want to go there and study development economics and trade relations. That is also very sufficiently close to what exactly you want to do in the field of economics. And then thirdly, you want to go to the University of Oxford and do, say, international development within the African context. Now, what I'm saying to you is that if you look at the blend of courses that you are putting out there, there's sufficient proximity between the identity of these 3 courses as to persuade a person to know that the person is not just picking the courses, but he is someone who has economic orientation. He wants to stay in the field of economics. And he is choosing the courses very well aware of how he wants to navigate the difficult terrain of studying economics, and then also coming back to play his part in influencing policy development in our country. So you should not see it as just one open field where you get up, you choose journalism at, say, University of Cambridge, and then you run away and then you go and look at, say, gender development at, say, University of Oxford, and then you run away from there and then you are thinking of African languages and you want to go and study at SOAS. What I'm saying is that anybody looking at your application knows that this guy is not serious. He's all over the place. He's not sure of what exactly he wants. I am saying or persuading you this morning to see it as a duty imposed by the people asking you to apply, to make sure that you know what exactly you are talking about, which field you are interested in, and you are sure that when you put in the application, you have the numbers in terms of the grades and the quality of certificate to support exactly what application you are making. And then also, don't just choose the schools because you think that you want to go to Oxford. The question you should ask yourself is, this application you are making, are you sure that when you apply with the grades you have or the quality of essay that you have, the University of Oxford will pick you? Are you sure that when you apply to the London School of Economics, that particular school would pick you? These are questions that you should ask yourself. You should be able to do introspection, evaluate yourself, evaluate your own capacity, and be sure that this is possible. If it is not possible, look for some other school. And then one other thing I'll say to us is that sometimes we just go for the schools because we think the school has a reputation out there. Now, what I would advise you to do is, if you're going into the field of law, what you should be doing is to look closely at the ranking of the various universities in the UK in the area of law. And you will find that some of the schools that you respect so much, so this school has a big name, would not necessarily be the best school for you if you are going there to study law. The same applies to maybe gender studies, the same applies to economics, the same applies to journalism, the same applies to maybe international relations. You should always do an assessment. Go onto the net, research it. Many reputable institutions rank these institutions by reason of what they have done in the area of research, the impact they've had on society, the kinds of people who have gone through the system and who are people today. You should look at all of these things before you try and decide whether or not that school is the right school for you. Now, let me say something quickly about applying to the schools. You can always apply to the schools before you make your application to Chevening. The requirement says that at the time that you are appearing before the panel to be interviewed, or soon thereafter, there must be admission you have, which is unconditional. In other words, the school must say that we are giving you admission to come and study without saying that we need you to pay X amount first, without saying that you need to submit this particular documentation before we move ahead with the application or giving you the admission. So always make sure that you know the school you are applying to and you are sure that you can gain admission, because by the time the application is locked in, there is no opportunity, as I understand it, to amend the schools as to say that, okay, I'm not taking University of London again, I'm not taking Oxford again, I'm not taking Cambridge again. These are locked in already, and they will come in the order in which you submit them, unless there's a persuasive reason why that should be altered. So that is with the schools. And let me say that, please note your questions, and when the time comes, you can direct them at me, and I will be answering them when the moderator says. Let me now deal quickly with the question of the ethics. There are at least 4 important. Hello, sir. There's a microphone that is on and is disrupting the presentation. Yes, thank you so much. Now, there is one important message that has to do with your leadership capacity. Now, leadership is a very important thing for you as a person, and also for the folks who have decided to throw their money behind the Chevening Secretariat, because they are not looking for just any person. They are looking for people who have the capacity to positively affect their societies, to positively influence the generality of the human race or our world in a particular way as to benefit not only the people of Ghana, not only the people of the UK, but the entirety of the world. So ask yourself, in your work environment today, what leadership role are you playing? Let me give you an important example of mine. And some of these things, I got to appreciate them when I went to the UK. So when Charlotte Osei was to be nominated as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, I had gone to court to challenge the decision of President John Dramani Mahama to nominate her. Of course, I mean, people, depending on where they were politically, were either attacking my decision to go to court on the matter, while others, because of where they were supporting the decision. Now, the principle I was pushing at that time was that I believe that the role of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is such an important one that it should not be left to the whims and caprices of whoever is in office as president. Because whether you like it or not, a president can wake up one morning and say that, look, I'm removing this chairman because of A, B, C, D, and sets in motion the process to successfully remove the person. And the next thing, the president decides to name the wife or maybe the brother or somebody close to him or her as the next chairperson of the Electoral Commission. Of course, the Council of States approved it. And then, everybody's up in arms. We may have a person who is of conscience today or previously in that office. But the question we should be asking ourselves is, would we have somebody like that? Would it come to a point that one day a president will get up and do such a thing? And would you be happy with it? That was why I went to court, saying that, look, I think the recommendations of the Council of State, which is supposed to be, which should play a part in determining who gets to go into that office or not, should play a key part in deciding who gets to make it. Of course, the Supreme Court thought that, well, they disagreed with my view because if you look at it, if that decision is taken, so many things will be affected because the judges who were even appointed to that to the court also went through a similar process. The Council of State will just look at it and basically recommend. The president can decide whether or not to agree with the recommendations or the advice of the Council of State. So that was why I went to court. Now, I'm telling you the story because at the time I did, I faced all kinds of things. I faced threats, I faced attack. People said they will do everything possible to bring me down. They will undermine me. They will discredit me, blah, blah, blah. Today, just a couple of years ago, when Charlotte Osei was removed from office, the debate came back as to whether Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the president, should just get up and nominate just any person to go into office. Now, the folks who were in office at the time that I was making the argument that Charlotte Osei needn't be appointed the way she was being appointed, that there should be a different way in line with the constitutional provisions of appointing persons to the office. They came and were making now the argument that they opposed in court. And today we see the result of that. Now, the very important reason why I'm making this point is that at various levels during my education in the UK, this particular singular decision to go to court was seen as a symbol or an epitome of leadership. In other words, the mentality there is that you are interested in how your country is run. It is not about sitting on Facebook and attacking people left, right, and center. It is about realizing or asking yourself, this thing that the Minister for Health has done, is it proper? You may want to go to Parliament with a petition and say that, look, Parliament should do something about it. They will see that as leadership, and you put that in your essay. Demonstrate that, look, when this matter came up, I went to Parliament with a petition as a citizen of Ghana. I said that they should do something about it. When a soldier was killed in this country, I rallied people together. We went to have a demonstration. We insisted that there should be prosecution. When soldiers shot people at Ayawaso or what do you call it, the Ashanti region, I took a petition to the president asking that the president should act on it. Or when this particular matter happened, I went to this particular community, I mobilized people, and then we presented A, B, C, D to the people of this particular community. People would attack you because within the Ghanaian context, for some reason, we don't appreciate the. But trust me, at every level in the UK, people saw me in high regard. I was addressing many panels, many conferences, just by reason of what I had done. Meetings here and there, and they were using me as an example of who can positively affect his or her society. And that was not the only thing I did. There have been countless things, crusades that I waged. For instance, there was a Chinese factory that was located not too far away from where I live here in Ghana. I saw that that was wrong. I rallied my community. We presented a petition to the the Environmental Protection Authority, insisted, threatened with legal action, got lawyers to write to them, pressed, wrote to the minister responsible for environment at the time, and eventually the government had to act. The local assembly had to act, and they forced the folks who were, producing tomato paste and polluting the environment, to relocate, because the area was a residential, or still is a residential area. These are the kinds of things that you as a citizen should be interested in. And when a person looking at your application sees something like that about the quality of your leadership in the past, he will say that this guy should be given the opportunity. Then you also have something that talks about your career path. So what are you doing presently? And how do you intend to take that forward? So within the next 5 years, if you go to the UK and come back as a journalist, what exactly do you want to do about the state of Ghana? That's a question that you should ask yourself before putting pen to paper. What career path do you want to have? Do you want to stay in journalism, or you want to go form an NGO that would positively influence people's attitudes to, say, littering in the environment? Or you want to positively affect the lives of people as to how they deal with old women who are considered to be witches in a certain part of our country? Or is it a question of you want to press for greater tolerance in our country, in our community? Must be able to demonstrate to the folks making the decision that, look, you know why you are applying, you know what you intend to do within the next 5 years after returning, and you know why you believe that you have the capacity to affect people positively. So that is about your career, and you need to lay that down positively in a very orderly manner to say that, yes, presently you are doing this. When you move to the UK, you'll be there for a year. You intend to study maybe how journalism is done in the UK outside your academic work. You want to understudy how they do it. You want to meet journalists who are making serious impact in that country. You want to learn from them. You want to come back to Ghana, and you want to repeat what you have learned there with the necessary modification. When a person looking at your application sees these things, the person is thinking, this guy knows what he wants. He knows how to get there. And he has demonstrated that he has the capacity to get there. Now, the question will be whether what you say you want to do positively affects society. And you need to demonstrate that when you come back, you want to form an NGO, and you intend the NGO to have A, B, C, D success. Demonstrate that. When the person looking at the application sees that, the person is a human being. He's thinking rationally and will say that, look, this is positive. Let's take up this application and it will work. Another has to do with networking. So many people think that, networking is when you go to a party somewhere, you meet people, and then you start talking to them, and you're having tea, and every evening you go and watch football. That's not networking. Networking is developing a team of people who think like you, or who have the capacity to influence you in such a way as to be positive in whatever you want to do as a human being, and to affect you positively and the community positively. So let's say that you are attending this particular program. Look at the profile of the people, the profiles of the people who are here. Ask yourself whether this person is interested in the field I'm interested in. So for instance, if you want to do, say, law in the UK, have you taken the trouble to attend, programs that are being organized at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration Law School? Do they host moot programs? Do you go there to just see what they do there? Do you share contacts? And do you call these people to talk about professional development, not to talk about things that really don't bring anything positive to your life? You're not calling the person to say, oh, Charlie, today I chop or to give me this money. You are calling the person to say, oh, I have looked at this particular legal problem. I honestly do not know how to approach it. Oh, I'm applying to this particular university. How do you think I should tweak my application to suit the requirement of the school? Oh, I'm applying to this particular university. I've asked me a question about networking. What do you think I should write as to make it possible to get into that school? People who have the capacity to positively affect you and affect society, those should be the people within your network. And you should be able to use that network to achieve positive ends. So for instance, recently when I came back to Ghana, I came up with the idea that, look, talking to people, it seems that so many schools and many environments are suffering. So how can we put together a team of people who can volunteer and then go into these communities when teachers are absent to teach them. So I came up with an idea. I discussed with a number of friends, and then we have put together what we are calling Vafiam, which is an other word for come and teach me. So basically, it's not going to be limited to just deprived schools. It's about discussing people, things that would improve society in many ways. So we have a team of people who would, going forward, when this thing properly takes off, go into a particular community. If a person has a time on his hands. So maybe my good friend Mauli Fui is here. He's a communication specialist. He sees a gap in, say, in Keji. The lecturers or the teachers are not coming to school. He should be able to call 2-3 people to go there for a week and fill in for the teachers who are not there and teach the students. Because I have noticed that in many ways, if I did not have the opportunities that, I had, I wouldn't have gotten this far, because I'm from a really impoverished background, but by God's grace and hard work, I've gotten this far. And I take the view that we should do a lot more to help people out there. That's what I'm saying, that it is important that you take active part in linking up with people who share your idea, who share vision with you, so that when you talk about networking, your network should be able to do something positive as to influence society. And you must lay it down clearly. I am a member of the Rotary Club. I'm a member of the SRC. We have formed this particular group, and we use this group to advance the cause of students in our community. It is important that you do this and demonstrate it in the application that you are making. And the final leg of essay has to do with the schools and why you're applying for them. So when you take up the application, what do you call it, process, for some reason I'm in an AC, but I'm supposed to actually... let's say for so okay, let me tell you my experience. I chose City University of London for my course because it is arguably the most respected law school in the UK by reason of the course that I wanted to study. But outside that, I also noticed that a number of very influential people, if you read about Mahatma Gandhi, of course, is a divisive figure depending on where you stand on many things. He was a student of that school. And one of the things I mentioned in my essay was the fact that Mahatma Gandhi was there. Now, I mentioned that for a purpose. I mentioned it because I knew that he had played a huge part in the shaping of, independence in India, and in the shaping of democracy or self-rule generally. And he's widely quoted, but he was once a student. And I'm trying to say that I also want to affect my society in a positive way. And I believe that if City University London was able to create this kind of global icon, it should be possible for me to go there, learn how it is done, so that when I come back to Africa or Ghana or whichever environment I find myself in, I will be able to apply the principles I would have learned in that school, follow the examples of Mahatma Gandhi, and then also positively affect lives. What I'm telling you is, you must be able to tell the person looking at your application, this is the reason why you chose this particular school. You chose it because, first, this is the course you want to study. But you also chose it because you want to learn in an environment that has many people from around the world coming together, so that you can learn about tolerance, so that you can learn about cooperation, so that you can learn about different cultures, so that when you come back home, you appreciate other viewpoints better. So when you make such a persuasive point in your application, you are giving the right vibe. You know why you are applying to that school. You know what school you are applying to, and you know what you are getting out of it. And then also, you need to tell the people why you are going for a particular course. You say you want to go and study, what do you call it? Law. Why do you want to go and study law? You want to come back and make money. I mean, if I'm looking at your application, I will throw it in the bin, because the purpose of leadership is not to make money for yourself necessarily. Money comes as a matter of course. So you want to go and study law. Let's say that you're interested in criminal law. You want to go and read LLM in, criminology, or maybe criminal justice delivery. You put that in as the reason why you are going to, say, study at City University of London. Defend that. Why are you making that application? Try and situate the argument within the fact that, okay, you have read the newspapers, you have come to the conclusion that so many of our innocent countrymen and women are languishing in jail because for some reason the justice delivery system is not processing their cases fast enough so as to give them a decision one way or the other. So you have people who have been on remand for the past, say, 20 years in some cases. In any civilized society, that should not be happening. But you as a citizen, you have looked at the problem. You think that this is a problem. You are taking, a course in criminal justice delivery. You want to go to the UK. You want to study how the justice delivery system there works. You want to come back. You want to lead advocacy, maybe serving as a member of parliament, maybe setting up an NGO that is advocating, parts that will lead to decongesting of our courts. Maybe setting up, a think tank that is interested in sponsoring new bills that will go before parliament, come back, and then get passed, so that you can decongest the prison system in our country. You should be able to demonstrate this succinctly in your application. And whoever is looking at your application, no matter how badly he feels about your name, will say that this person knows what he is talking about, and let me allow him. You are tired of seeing women die in our hospitals because they have gone in there to want to have a baby, and for some reason they just die like that. You are not happy about it. You are a health professional. You want to step out there to read about modern systems of managing the health service delivery. You should be able to say in your essay dealing with your career path, or not your career path, why you are choosing a particular school and a particular course, that this is a problem in your country. You have identified this as a problem. You believe that when you go into a society where things are better managed, you learn one or two things and you come back and implement those things in our country. And finally, let me say that in making all of these arguments in your essays, please try and research the interest areas of the UK. What is the UK interested in Ghana? In other words, which areas are they willing to support? They are willing to support elections. They are willing to support our democracy. They are willing to support parliamentary, democracy to make it develop. They are willing to support development in key areas such as what? Making sure that women are not dying needlessly when they go to the hospital. They have voted so much money over the years to support these causes. So go onto the website. Don't listen to what people are telling you. Take the time, take one day, dedicate that day, set everything aside. Look through the requirements that they are looking out for and persuade yourself that whichever area that you are going to is intricately linked to the aspirations of the UK in Ghana. And when you tell them that this is the course you want to do, they'll throw money at it. Very finally, I know some of you will be interested in, say, I want to go and do MBA. Strictly speaking, it is not one of the areas that Chevening would ordinarily throw money at. So they cap it. If maybe the course you are going to do MBA at, say, maybe London School of Business, and maybe they are charging for, say, £48,000. Chevening will not give you all that money. They will give you something up to £18,000, because if you are going to read MBA, you are interested in coming back to do business or do something that is not necessarily within the public space. So have that at the back of your mind as you make your decisions. I believe these are some of the things I want to quickly highlight. And Ken, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'll be available to answer any questions that you are interested in.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much, Richard Starr. I think that's quite a detailed presentation that captures basically all the thematic areas in the application process. Now, let me just allow for questions. If you have a question, okay, so I see Nokia 2.4. Let me unmute you and then you ask your question. Okay, so my brother, you are brother or sister, it depends. Okay. You have the floor.
Yes, I'm listening.
My question is, I've applied for about 4 schools in the UK. I have only one unconditional admission. The rest are on.
And the question, sir? What's the question? Okay, so this, I take it that you are asking whether in the circumstances you can use these to show that you have at least made the attempt to apply. So of course, I mean, if I were you in making my application, the school that has given me an unconditional what do you call it? What's the name? Unconditional admission. That is the school I will choose first. So you need to rank the schools, your first choice of school, your second choice of school, and then your third choice of school. So I'll go with the first one that has given me unconditional admission. But the second one will be one of the schools that I apply to, then indicate that I am waiting an outcome. I'm waiting for an outcome on that application. And the third one, you are waiting for an outcome. When it comes down to it, what it means is if you make it through to the finals and you are chosen, you go to the school that has given you an unconditional, what do you call it, admission. That is, I hope I've made the point.
Yeah, so that's quite clear. So let's go to is it Kasampu? I'll mute you now, and then you can also ask your question.
Please, thank you very much. My question is, I have 2 questions, and the first one is, how can we reach Mr. Richard? If he can give us maybe an email or a contact or something through which we can reach him in case we have concerns at any point in time. And the other thing is, if someone wants to pursue a master's program in the UK and what you want to read quite varies from what you have read in your undergraduate program, does it really matter? And what are your chances of gaining admission? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the question.
All right, Richard, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question, my brother. This one has to do with my contact detail. Okay, so yes, my email address. I guess I would make that available. And then the difficulty with giving people your contact detail or the details of your contact is that people now want you to do the work for them. I am not that kind of person. You would have to demonstrate that you have done enough to make me look at what you're doing and to support in a particular way. In the past, people will send you a 2-sentence, essay, and ask you to work on it for them so that they can submit it. It doesn't work like that. Do the work, demonstrate that you have put some serious mind to it, and then when I receive it and I look at it, I will say that, oh, you have done ABC. And then also, people want you to give them every information. No, the information is out there on the internet, on the Chevening Scholarship. You put something out there and people are asking you, oh, I have a first degree, do I qualify? If you go to the website of the Chevening Secretariat, and have already put the link there, and people are asking me that, what I'm saying is, when you are contacting me or somebody to help, show that you have done enough and you have gotten to a point where there's something you don't understand. So you want that clarified. I hope that should help. But that having been said, my email address is richardskyGH@gmail.com. RICHARDSKYGH@gmail.com. I'm sure that the moderator would type it in there so that all of you can have access to that and then reach out. The next question has to do with a possible gap between what you were doing previously and what you intend to go and do. So for instance, you were previously in journalism and then now you want to go and do law. That's my story. You have to demonstrate why you believe that the people should put money at it. And everything is about persuasion. So when I met the panel, this question came up. You were doing journalism. Why are you now interested in going to study law? You did economics at GIMPA. When you finished, previously you did journalism, then you did economics, and then now you want to go and do law. Why should we put money at it? You are leaving the field. Now, it is about how you argue why you think it is important. My submission was simple. All the while that I was doing journalism, and I still do journalism, I was holding officialdom accountable at very different levels of society. I spoke about taking the president to court or the attorney general to court over a certain matter. I spoke about, the advocacy in my community. All these things I did as a citizen and as a journalist. Now, to persuade them, I made a point that I got to a point where I realized that no, it is not just enough to sit on radio or be on television or write in the newspapers or on the website about the problems of society. Sometimes you need the force of law and the knowledge to be able to pursue certain causes, so that when it comes down to it, at some point you have to go into the courtroom yourself to be able to pursue those causes in the interest of the people of Ghana. Now, there's a vast difference between being a journalist and being, but there's also a similarity, which is that what? You are an advocate as a journalist and you are also an advocate as a lawyer. But these are two different fields. What I'm saying is that by this kind of presentation that I made to the committee or the panel that was interviewing me, and then also in my application, I was able to demonstrate or to persuade the team that, look, I may be doing journalism or I may have done journalism previously, but there's one fine line that is running through serving society, advocating causes that will positively affect people, so that when I go in there and I study law and I come back, you can always expect that the same fire of advocacy will still be running through me. So look at it like that. Whichever field you're looking at, find a way of doing that connection. That will be persuasive. Next question, please. Hello? Okay. There's a question here. Yeah.
Can I go on?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, Richard, thank you. I mean, your presentation has been very, very good to some of us and many of the members who are already listening to you. I am Jonas Nate, popularly also known as KJ Mufasa. And then I want to ask a generic question with regards to the referencing. What if, for now, you are a business person on your own, and then you do not work with a corporate setting now? How do you get one professional and one corporate referencing to guide your application?
Okay, so thank you for that question. Very brilliant question. You have the requirements say that you need two referees, one from your work environment, one from your academic institution. So first of all, you have to demonstrate that you went to a particular school and people thought you, and then you became a businessman on your own. Now, the second one requirement, meeting that will be tricky. But you see, here's how you deal with it. In your own work environment, you deal with people every day. The idea behind asking for professional referee is not to show that you necessarily work for people. It's a question of, in the professional environment, how have you affected people? Or what's your relationship with people? What's people's testimony about you? So as a businessman, you have dealt with so many people, clients, you have dealt with other businesses. These are people who can write references about you. They will be giving a testimony of what they know about you, how they know you, in what capacity they know you, and whether they believe that if the UK gives you this opportunity, you can positively affect your life. So it is not a problem if you own your own business. Try and identify people who can positively testify on your capacity and your ability to affect human beings in a positive way. Thank you. Next question, please.
If I can come in, Richard.
Yes.
I'm Richard.
All right, thank you. I have a question. I want to ask, in your presentation, you made reference to the offer letters being unconditional.
Yeah.
I've applied to some universities and I have an unconditional offer, and the condition is to make a deposit of about £3,000. So I want to know if that would be, I mean, if you can use that conditional offer to do the application.
My short answer to you is no. The requirement is that there should be no condition attached to the question.
Okay.
What do you call it?
Thank
To
you.
the admission. Because what it is that the system doesn't want you to go and lock up your money. You're going to put your money there. And what if you don't get the what do you call it? That's the scholarship. Then who pays for it? So under no circumstance should you pay any money or should you do anything that is conditional in nature. You have to submit this before we do this. We have make sure that at the time that you are loading the documents or appearing before them to say that, oh yes, you have met all the conditions, the admission letter clearly shows that you have been given an unconditional whatever. Let me give you a typical experience. So at the time I was finishing my first LLM program, it was during the height of COVID. Some of my results were not out. So I was waiting for 2 more results. And when I applied to City University, they gave me a conditional admission that because I had not finished, some of the courses or the results were not yet in, they were not going to give me an unconditional, admission. Now, I took serious issue with that because I thought that, well, I mean, the requirement to enter that school is that you have your first degree, which is the LLB. I did my first degree and I met top of the class. The result is there to show for it. And you are saying you will not give me admission because my LLM, which I am doing, which is not a requirement to get into the school, you will not accept it. I mean, that did not make sense to me. So I wrote a petition to City University of London, and I copied a former lecturer of mine who is a solicitor and lawyer in the UK, and he took up the matter. Ultimately, the school felt that, look, the argument I was making was situated within the regulations of the school itself. The requirement is come with LLB. Whether or not I was doing LLM, it is irrelevant to the matter. The question is whether at the time that I was applying, I had finished my LLB program. So be careful about some of these conditional awards. Sometimes they might be unreasonable. Sometimes they will be reasonable. But the point here is don't pay any money to anybody as part of the requirements or the conditions attached to anything. Let them give you an admission that says that we are admitting you without any condition. If you have that, then it means you can apply and get into the system. Thank you so much for that brilliant question. Next question, please.
So, Rich, I must add that we have just about 15 minutes to close this session. So we will take about 2 questions and then we can adjourn this meeting until we notify the public later.
Okay, may I come in with my question?
Great.
I'm Richard, as I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
In my field of study, as in the IT field,
Please speak.
I focus. Yes, am I audible now?
Yeah. Right.
And as I was saying, in my field of study in the IT field, I focus on having more professional certificates than I'm now offering my degree, which, okay, I did a diploma 2-3 years ago, but I focus on having more of the professional certificates in my field, that's cyber security. In that case, will I be able to apply, or will I qualify to apply for the Chevening scholarship, or unless I wait and finish the degree and then 2 years after before I apply?
Thank you for that question, Paul. Is it Yeboah?
Yes, because I've done 12 years in the industry already, and then about, let's say, 8 years of professional certificates, and then a diploma.
Okay. Great. Thank you for that question. Now, my simple answer to you is no. If you look strictly at the requirements, they are saying that you need at least 2-1 degree, second class upper, or a first class degree in order to get in there. In other words, if they don't see any degree and your answers don't suggest that you have a degree, no matter the years of experience or the number of diplomas you do have, you are not going to make the cut. It is as simple as that. So, but what it also means is that it is possible for you to finish the degree just this year, but get into
a week or two.
What it, you would have already gathered enough working experience or work experience as to satisfy the requirement. The bottom line is, before you apply, you need that degree. You need to have finished that degree, and you need to have records to back it. So wait until you do your degree, and then you can apply accordingly.
Oh, okay. So the 2 years wouldn't come in anymore after the degree?
Yeah, so in this case, there's a portion where you have to fill in details about for how long you have worked, how many hours you spend a week, and all of that. You'll be able to satisfy it, because the requirement is not that necessarily you should have demonstrated that you have worked for 2 years after finishing your degree. You should have 2 years working experience. So first of all, once you have the degree, you have satisfied the first requirement. The second requirement talks about the duration of work experience you have. And I believe that by reason of what you have just said, you have done in excess of 8 years or so in the industry. You should be able to satisfy that requirement. So if you start your degree today, maybe it may well be a top-up that should take you about a year. If you finish by next year, you should be able to apply for the one following the next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I come in?
Okay, so we have the last question. All right, please you can ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Leila. And then I have 3 questions. Yeah. Please, Rage, I have a first degree in public health, but unfortunately it's a second class lower honors. I would like to know whether I'll be considered. That is my first question. And then also the second one is, as you were listing the courses that UK would like to sponsor or would like to throw money inside, is public health also part of those courses that they would like to sponsor? And the last one is, I'm finding it difficult to apply for the schools. I would need help. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that question, Leila. So the answer to the very first question is no, unfortunately. They are rigid about that. There's a reason why they have put the cutoff point at second class upper. It is a way of sealing the people who are coming in. So although it's a good degree, which you can use for so many things, for just the purposes of administering the scholarship and also making sure that they narrow in on the people they want or reduce the numbers. If you are below a second class upper, your degree would not be considered as meeting the requirements, unfortunately. And then the question about public health. Yes, public health is one of the big areas that the UK is throwing money at. And if you look at their budgetary allocations to the Republic of Ghana, or their development support for the Republic of Ghana, I think over the last few years, until recently, they pumped a lot of money into, women health of women who were, getting ready to deliver their babies, and maternal health. Let me put it that way. So public health is a big issue for them. If you're interested in going to read about public health, yes, that's one thing that you should continue. You can always better your grade. And if you want to do it, there should be a way of getting around that. And we can have a discussion about it. And then I'll help you in whichever way possible to get there. And then also, you also raised a question about applying for the schools. Yes. There's also a skill about applying. You need to make a compelling application. You don't need to bring things out of this world. You don't need to create anything. Just tell the school about who you are. They look at your essay, they know that, if I upload my essay, the essay that I wrote to the schools that gave me the admission, or to Chevening that gave me the admission, you marvel. I was not telling them about anything out of the world. I was telling them about how I grew up. My struggles as a poor man in the village, working as a porter in a local market, staying with a single parent, struggling, not knowing where my next meal is coming from, telling them the truth as it was, and still ends. It's not a question of, you don't have to create anything out of the world. Tell them persuasively how far you have come. Tell the school. And when they look at stories like that, they ask themselves, whoa, this person, with all the difficulties he's had, has come this far. This is a story we want to hear in our school, because the agenda is diversity. They don't want only rich people's kids coming around and attending school. No, they want you to be able to come and share your experiences with the rest of the world. So that someone who all throughout his life has lived in London on an Ivy, or maybe what do you call it, a tower house or whatever they call it, or maybe a penthouse, should be able to see someone from the other side of the world and share experiences, to appreciate how the poor live. So that ultimately when you come back, you can also positively affect society. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much. I would have to, first of all, thank the Chevening Alumni Association Ghana chapter for having, provided all the help, the assistance to make sure we have a very good conversation. Which is Kai, I want to thank you very much for making time for this very important conversation engagement with the public. I would also want to quickly say that if you want to follow up on these conversations, you can send us, you can get us through the Facebook at Chevening Alumni Ghana. And over there, you can post questions and also do, if you like, further inquiries as regards the application process and all that has been said here. On Twitter, we also have Chevening Alumni Ghana, which is also very active. You can follow us there. Again, let me thank all the participants. This would not have been possible if you had not made time. We recognize that these are difficult times, challenging times. So making that time to be with us is not taken for granted at all. I thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. God bless all of us.
Thank you. I'm most grateful.